Now, with vote counting continuing, a shift is also apparent, some people might say, in places like Kwazulu-Natal as the newly established MK party takes an early lead. Let's get you more insights on this with our reporter, Canny Maphanga, who's actually on the floor of the National Results Operations Center. And Canny, many people had said that this is going to be an election largely characterized by the story of KZN.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Ayanda, and to the viewers at home. Of course, we expected that in this highly contested election, we would see new formations making some inroads in particular provinces and nationally in those general elections. Now, of course, we're seeing the PA in the Western Cape making some moves, but of course, the Umkhonto we Sizwe newly formed political party that was endorsed by the former President Jacob Zuma and led by the former President is starting to show some results in KZN as well as nationally. Now, as of 9:20 a.m., 11.36% rather, apologies, that is 967,278 of the votes had been counted, and the ANC, while it is still in the lead, the MK party has shown 75,758 of those votes. And then in KZN, they are leading that province as we speak with 45,174 votes. Of course, these are preliminary results, and we can expect that the final results will only come out on Sunday. But this is quite a performance to reflect on Umkhonto we Sizwe, looking back at when the party was formed, how it's performed in by-elections in Mpumalanga and KZN, and now what we're starting to see to translate on that scoreboard behind me. But to elaborate further, I am quickly joined by the Secretary General of the MK party, Mr. Sihle Ngubane. Thank you so much for your time. As you can see, quite significant numbers there by the MK party that is being shown on the scoreboard nationally. And I know you've emphasized the point that you are a national party, but of course, more importantly, in KwaZulu-Natal, those numbers that we're seeing there, 51,024 if I look back at the board, and if we look at the national scoreboard, that is 75,758, trailing right behind the EFF. What can you tell us about these results, and are you encouraged by what you're seeing so far?
Thank you very much, Kenny, and the viewers of SABC News. As MK, we are very much encouraged by the numbers. Everything so far, the numbers are predictive of what we spoke about. The major thing that MK is want to raise, we are very much disappointed on the gross misconduct and incompetency from IEC. We told IEC that this 2024 election is exactly a similar election as like 1994. People were on the queue. There were long queues at Teguini, Chesterville. There were VDs which were closed when the people were still on the queue. And there were acts that were changed, which people from other province, all of a sudden now, they can't vote on one ballot from other province. So as MK party, we are totally disappointed with the IEC's performance. The IEC was supposed to be predictive. They're supposed to have learned the momentum. They're supposed to have seen the situation. 16 December, when Jacob Zuma announced the party, on the registration of the 3 to 4 February, picked the numbers high up, and a lot of young people, they came to register to vote. By virtue of that, IEC was supposed to read the mood that something new is coming here. A lot of people are going to come and vote. And this is what happens. They failed. They couldn't cope with all the things. There were ballot papers that were finished somewhere on other VDs. There were queues that were cut. There were voting station managers which just closed gates because the ballot papers are finished or the queues are too long.
Are you saying, Mr. Ngubane, that your party agents have recorded incidents rather that have led you to a place where you feel that your voters may be disenfranchised in the 2024 polls? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what we say. Our party agents were reporting to us and say, please, we want help. I was phoning the IEC at night yesterday. They were saying we want the help, we still want to vote, and the electricity was cut. This was a chaotic election. So I'm totally disappointed at IEC's handling of the whole thing. We did very well, but the numbers speaks for themselves. You can see that we are doing very well on all provinces, and you can see numbers trickling in, that we work very hard on this election to get these numbers that we are getting.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sihlengobani. We will catch up throughout the course of the day and the next few days as those results continue to trickle in for the MK party. That is a new formation there that is starting to make some inroads in KwaZulu-Natal as expected, and of course showing some results there nationally, quite significant results, demonstrating a changing political landscape following these 2024 polls. Now, to analyze this further, I'm joined by political analyst Lukhona Mnguni. Thank you so much for your time. KwaZulu-Natal, that is the province everyone is looking at, and for some, they may argue that what we're seeing on that scoreboard isn't surprising.
I suppose it's not surprising in one instance, but in the other, I think the extent of the race is actually quite interesting and surprising, Kenny. And this is because, I get to do some research as well. And in February, I was actually in KwaZulu-Natal, did about 6 focus groups in communities like Gamalake in the South Coast, Kwamashu in Durban, and Umsunduzi municipality, Pietermaritzburg. And I could tell even then that actually the ANC was going to be in serious trouble in KwaZulu-Natal. I remember even saying, a friend asking me, do you really think MK is going to cause an upset? I said, well, my prediction is that after research, they might even get 500,000 votes in KwaZulu-Natal, which would translate to about 22-23%. But it seems as if they keep this momentum, they might actually surpass that by quite a margin and cause what we may call an electoral massacre.
Yes. It's still early. As we look behind us, we're looking at 12.85%. I know earlier I updated on an earlier percentage, but could the picture look quite different in KZN, perhaps if we reconvene tomorrow morning to see those results?
Well, I suppose at the pace that things are going, we are probably going to have a fair result orientation by 6 p.m. today. That's my guesstimate. There are 5 political parties on that scoreboard that we can confidently say they have seats in Parliament, and MK seems to be nearing its second seat. Patriotic Alliance, EFF, the ANC, and the DA. Those are the 5 parties that we can say they've got a seat to. Like you're saying, it's early days, but it's the first million votes already counted, which means we are quite well on the way. Depending where voter turnout puts us, we have an interesting election result on our hands, and I think we are going to need to analyze quite deeply what are the tactics that the MK was using to reach out and actually find resonance of its message with so many voters, and it's what I call the art of political propaganda.
Now, we don't know the official voter turnout yet, but we know that this election had a number of new formations that were going to participate or have participated in the polls, but surprisingly we're only seeing the MK party and then of course the Patriotic Alliance in the Western Cape showing us some significant results. What does that tell us about our changing political landscape, that in all these new formations that presented themselves as a viable alternative for South Africans, we're only really seeing the Patriotic Alliance and the MK party showing and making some inroads, that is in the Western Cape, at least in KwaZulu-Natal, if we speak about significant numbers, and in the national ballot as well. And we're not seeing that much of a performance from, those new formations such as Rise. We know Action SA is not new, but they are contesting for the first time in the national and provincial elections, etc. Those numbers are quite low. It is still early, but those numbers are quite low.
No, certainly significantly low. But let's start with turnout. CSIR, of course, was with Morning Live just now, and they've predicted turnout at about 57.1%. I think it will definitely hold around there. I know that the IC was upbeat that there would be upwards of 60%. I think the snaking queues were an outcome of processes rather than massive turnout, but I think 57% is still decent given how much things plummeted in the local government election in 2021. But back to the story that you are talking about, the Patriotic Alliance is a very good story of never give up. The Patriotic Alliance was actually on the ballot in 2019. They got just less than 7,000 votes. and where they're sitting right now with 12% of the count, 55,000 votes, and about 64%, 66% of that vote is coming from the Western Cape. So it tells you that something has happened and shifted in the last 5 years. But it's also demonstrating something that our politics are taking on a shape that may be about identity politics. Some of these parties you talk about, Patriotic Alliance, Mkhonto Wesizwe Party, have appealed to people's identity, quite regionalistic in terms of their appeal, and it may be the fragmentation from the broader, national, so-called social cohesion kind of approach and unity. But you are quite correct, some of these smaller parties, your Bossa, your Rise, Action SA, your Good, will probably maybe gain some votes when the bigger, more urban centers come, because these are parties that are really trying to navigate the center space in one way or the other, and that center space unfortunately tends to be closed off by some of these issues I'm saying of identity politics and so on.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lukhona Mnguni. Always a pleasure speaking to you. That was a wrap of the political analysis of the new formations that we're seeing making some inroads, particularly in the Western Cape province and the Kwazulu-Natal province, that is the MK and the Patriotic Alliance, in the 2024 national and provincial elections. Now we'll continue to monitor these results as they come out every hour, and we'll continue to give you those updates as we report on the highly contested 2024 national and provincial elections